Hi, I'm Ted Wolf, presented by Guidewise. Welcome to the Implementors podcast, where we connect you to the stories and insights of people who have mastered implementation. Why? Because ideas are easy, but implementation is hard. Join us as we uncover the secrets of successful implementation so you can conquer your implementation struggles. Welcome to the Implementors podcast presented by Guidewise, where we focus on the topic of implementation because ideas are easy, implementation is hard. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Ben Hills, a visionary CEO and co-founder of an organization called Iris. Ben is here. He's going to share his insights today on the intersection of AI, efficiency, and leadership. Welcome to the podcast, Ben.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Ben, in doing my homework, it seems that you're a continuous entrepreneur. You've had a lot of startups starting at very young age. And through each one, I'm sure you learned some pretty important dynamics and lessons that made the next entrepreneurial endeavor that much better. Tell us a little bit about your background in EdTech and the lessons that you learned there.
Yeah, absolutely. So my actual first foray into entrepreneurship was when I was 14. And my friends and I had this crazy idea to start screen printing shirts for clubs and student activity groups in my parents' garage. And we found instructions on instructables.com to build a screen printing press. And we went to Home Depot and we bought the wood, we built the press, we got our first customers. And I ended up scaling that company to 6 figures in revenue and selling it before I went to college. And that was like my first full grasping of the old parable that like you can just do things and you can just have an idea and see a problem and just go after it in the world. And that made me fall in love with finding problems that I could solve and problems that were like really near and dear to my heart. And then I went off to college. I then was fortunate to join an EdTech company that was founded by a former Blackboard executive, which was one of the largest EdTech companies in DC. And there we were focused on taking all of the communications that happen over paper and pen and direct mailings and digitizing them. And I joined the company and came up with the idea for the first mobile acceptance letter. And it was a pretty simple premise. Millions of students get accepted to college in the country. They find out from a paper packet. It's not exciting for them. And the college has no idea whether or not they're actually engaged and excited in that moment. And so we built an experience that was student gets accepted, they get a text message, they can then share out the news with an augmented reality filter on TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat. And that skyrocketed that company's growth. We ended up onboarding hundreds of colleges over a 1-year period. Really proud that now 1 in 4 students who get accepted to college in this country actually learn it through that medium. And along the ride, I did every role in the company and then hired every team. So I came up with the product idea, found the engineers to build it, sold the first product, hired and built out a sales team, implemented our first clients, hired and built out a customer success team, and really cut my teeth on software companies and bringing Jetsons era solutions to Flintstones era problems, right? These really archaic workflows and business processes that people have been doing the same way for 100 years, like literally 100 years, and bringing brand new mobile technology into the space. And it was really special for me because I spent quite a bit of time boots on the ground on college campuses, working with admissions officers and financial aid officers and college presidents on mapping these existing processes to net new digital processes. There, I learned quite a bit about how to implement and bring an idea to life. And you hit all your traditional twists and turns, from staffing challenges to product challenges. Your biggest customer gets upset and leaves. Your smallest customer ends up becoming your biggest customer. I learned all of those kinds of ups and downs of scaling a software company. And one of the biggest challenges we had in scaling was what happens at the finish line of a deal cycle when a college is like, hey, we're ready to move forward, but we need you to fill out this RFP. We need a proposal. We need you to go through a security review. And when we scaled the company up, one of the things that I didn't expect to happen was the brain drain and bottleneck on subject matter expertise, right? So I could hire 20 sales reps and 20 engineers and 20 support reps, but there was still only one Ben that knew everything about the product in the company. And so I found myself shifting how I was spending my time quite a bit to being just the bottleneck of institutional knowledge at the company. And then in November of 2022 was the ChatGPT moment. And I used ChatGPT for the first time. And it clicked for me that we were at this inflection point in, candidly, our society where for the first time ever, we could measure and take knowledge and actually change it and transform it into different formats, different artifacts. And all of a sudden, something that was really dense and lived inside of a 3-ring binder and a filing cabinet could be accessed by anyone through AI and through LLMs. And so I called up 2 engineers who I had been working with, and I was like, I think we have a chance to finally solve what was the biggest hurdle on scaling that EdTech company, generating those artifacts in the sales process that are necessary to get a college on board. And so we started building Iris. We started building the product. We got our first customer, another EdTech company. They started seeing results with our product, which then gave us the ability to raise a pre-seed round from angel investors, hire out a team, bring our product to market. And about 6 months ago, we did that. We brought our product to market, and the rest is history in the writing.
Good, good. Obviously, you learned every part of the business in the ed tech area. Great lessons, and it certainly shows, and you portray that you were in love with the experience, the idea, and I'll say, of building something out of nothing. And it's an incredible experience for anybody who has started a business. For those who have not started a business or they're thinking about it, what lesson did you learn from ed tech in starting a company to say, here's what I'd say if I would do a little differently if I had it to do over again?
It's a great question. The biggest thing that I always tell people is the world often doesn't move as quickly as you want it to. And I always struggled with my inner child of feeling like everyone was going to be as excited about these new solutions and these new innovations as I would be. And then you start selling it and you start talking to colleges and you start talking to prospects and you realize most people don't like change. Most people just don't really want to change the way they're doing something day to day. And I learned this with Iris too, where similarly, I was like, hey, ChatGPT is amazing. AI is going to change the way we do everything in this world. This is going to be easy. Contracts are going to fall from the sky. Everyone's just going to want to start using this software. And then you start talking to people and people think AI is going to take their job. They think AI is really scary. They think they're contributing to AGI problem that's going to turn into, iRobot and take over the world. And so I would say the biggest lesson that I like to tell people is don't get dissuaded by that. Like when you feel in your belly the conviction that you're doing the right thing and that the solution you're bringing is to a real viable problem and it really will change the world, you just have to put your head down and keep going and keep trucking through it.
So that determination, the perseverance, over and over, and talking to entrepreneurs and business leaders, they talk about that. Where's that come from in your life?
I think my parents instilled a lot of it in me. They, in raising me, were really adamant that it wasn't worth doing a lot of clubs and activities and a lot of things part way. It was worth picking a thing that I could get really excited waking up every day doing and follow that passion. And I'm really grateful that they encouraged me to do that. I think a lot of it comes from within. Like I wake up every day, as the saying from Liar's Poker goes, ready to bite the ass off a bear and just like wanting to get after it. I get seriously a lot of satisfaction from being a part of the world changing. And I get a lot of perseverance from also like not being afraid to get rejected. I think I first learned that with my t-shirt company where I was knocking on local store doors, getting told no 9 times out of 10. And then so excited to get that one yes that I just learned that you can solve anything and you're going to get knocked down 100 times along the way. But if you're excited about what you're doing and you're excited about the people you're doing it with, which is another really key part, then you get this just innate motivation to keep going.
Okay. So bring us up to the present. you're working in EdTech, great success, 50 million people using that system and the business services and the experience that you designed and put together. What was the light bulb moment when you said, there's a different opportunity and problem we can solve that's bigger? What led to that insight?
Two really distinct moments. One was personally using ChatGPT for the first time and feeling like this technology is not going to be a fad. It is going to fundamentally change the way we all live and the way we all do work. And I validated that in a couple ways. I spoke to some people who I've been fortunate to be mentored by, who have been in the software space for decades. And they said to me that their ChatGPT moment was akin to the first time there was one computer in their office space, and all of a sudden the whole way they did work changed. They were like, this isn't like Bitcoin or crypto or some fad that's going to go away. This feels like a fundamental shift in the way people deliver technology. So that was really validating from a technology standpoint. Like, what we're building today couldn't have been built 3 years ago. The other moment was really emotional. I had run that EdTech company for almost 10 years. I'd lived through lots of ups and downs, hyperscale, scaling the company back. The company had gotten acquired, and I was managing the integration of the acquiree and our organization. And I wasn't supposed to be responsible for doing the RFPs, the proposals, and the security work anymore. And a sales rep called me up and was like, hey, Ben, I know you're not supposed to be doing this anymore, but I really need this one done to help win a deal. Do you think you could do it for me tonight? And that was a breaking point for me of like, I would rather put shards of glass through my eyes than write one more security questionnaire. And that happened right around the same time I had used ChatGPT for the first time. And it was just this light bulb moment in my head there that I could solve what was the biggest personal pain for me in growing that EdTech company with what is now the newest technology available to solve problems.
Okay, so that was the defining moment, and I'll say lesson that you learned with the EdTech company. Open up a whole new experience. How did you start framing that idea and explaining it to people who never even thought of that before?
The first person I called up, someone named Tess Frazier, who is an EdTech legend. She has run the deal desk function, which is the last mile for all contracting deals, RFPs, at numerous EdTech unicorns. I was fortunate to learn underneath her early on in my career. And I called her up and I was like, hey, Tess, you've been doing this for a while. There's got to be a better way to do it. Like, do you have systems that solve for this? Do you have tools that help automate this type of process? And she talked me through how they were solving it. And I said to her quite simply, what if there was a system that could contextualize your latest business information, your latest product information, security information, marketing information, and use that to automatically generate the content needed to complete an RFP or security questionnaire? And her verbatim response was, if you build that, you can have all my money. I'll be your first customer, your first advisor, and your first investor. No one has talked about solving the problem that way. And I will be your raving fan if you can bring that to life. And that kind of market validation is really important. Like, there are lots of companies that are solution searching for problems, and they raise money, they build a product they think is cool, but it doesn't necessarily solve anyone's real problems. And they're just going about it, hoping that one day they hit this moment of virality. I want to take the opposite approach and be really customer led and feel like, hey, this is a problem that I felt. There are then also lots of other companies facing this problem. And now it's time to find out, is anyone solving it in this way? And at the time, no one was solving it in the way that we were going about solving it.
Okay, so let's unpack this step by step as you implemented the solution and the eventual product that you found. So you got the idea because you're working, and I'm going to say you had to put late night hours in, getting all of this tedious work done. The light bulb goes off. You go and test it with somebody who's an authority in your mind. They give you positive feedback. That's the beginning of the implementation. So where did you go next after you talked to Tess?
The next two people I called up were two engineers I had worked with at my last company. And they are what some people call like unicorn 10x engineers. They're the kinds of engineers that just also obsess over business problems, which is rare. Not all engineers get excited about the business side of it. And I said to them, I have an idea for this product. I think if we build it, we can get our first customer. I don't have any money to pay for you all to do this. But if you can bring this product to life, I'll give you some equity in the company that will exist at some point in the future if the aforementioned milestones are met. And they spent about 3 months, nights and weekends, because they were working full-time jobs, actually bringing the first version of Iris to life. And then I called Tess back up and I said, we have a product. You ready to try it out?
So she obviously said yes, I'm assuming, at that
Yes.
point. What was the experience like, the user experience, customer experience at that point in a very primitive stage where there's an awful lot of it works, it doesn't work, change this, modify that? Describe, if you can, that next phase of implementing and building the product.
Yeah, so that phase is what a lot of people call the MVP phase, the minimally viable product. And it's like, what's the least amount of functionality needed to accomplish the biggest pain point and part of the goal? And that's the trajectory that a lot of products follow, where you start off in what people call uninformed simplicity. So our product, because we didn't know a whole lot about what people were going to ask for, how the product was going to mature, we didn't know every knob and dial and feature and function, there wasn't a whole lot you could do in Iris. You could drag and drop in all of your security documentation and marketing collateral. You could then drag and drop in a blank RFP, and Iris would just generate the responses. And so it was a very, very simple initial minimally viable product, but it cut out the biggest hurdle in getting any of this work done. The biggest hurdle is actually writing the responses and crafting them specific for each particular request that you're getting. So we brought that to market, and with Tess and her company, we worked with a team of about 10 people on her side, and we're meeting with them every day, sometimes multiple times a day, just to iterate off of that MVP. We have to add in new integrations and permissioning and user roles and the ability to see the source of where the answer came from and make all of your edits. And so layer by layer, the product snowballed and matured from this initial MVP into what now is a really robust platform that accomplishes more than we ever even dreamed of when we started off.
Okay, so let's get into the client experience a little bit if we can. Tess starts coming back with suggestions, additions, modifications. You see the product starting to evolve and it's really becoming something. Every entrepreneur, every business person, every leader, everybody that's doing anything with their life has what we call an inner game. That means inside you have some beliefs, emotions, and the meanings that you're assigning things, triggering off like crazy. Tell us what your inner game experience was like as you saw this product really turning into something valuable.
So there are two inner games, I would say, that I like to play, but they're intertwined. So the first is we believe, and now we're seeing that with our product, companies would close more business, right? Like at the end of the day, if you can get something back to a prospect faster and higher quality, we believe that would lead to that company generating more revenue, having more customers, and keeping them happy. And we've been successful in proving that out with our product. The other is harder to measure, but almost a little more meaningful to me personally, which is the cultural impact. And so one day, the head of sales from that customer called me and said, I turned to one of my teammates and said, I noticed that you've been much more confident on all of the calls you're entering with prospects. And you've been much calmer when you get requests for RFPs from my team. Like you used to get told there was an RFP and it was like the sky is falling, everything's terrible. And now you're like, okay, bring it on. And I asked him why, and he turned his computer and said, it's because we're using Iris. And so we now start seeing this inner game for me of the cultural ramifications of this invisible work that no one really liked doing, turning from a cost center and an inefficient drain on company resources, be actually a shining point for companies to work better together.
Mhm.
And it's really hard to operate on the friction between teams. And that's where we operate, right? Like we are operating in between the gears of sales and sales engineers and compliance folks and security folks and teams that are typically really siloed. And we're trying to come in and get people to sing kumbaya and operate on the friction between those teams, which is genuinely a difficult and lofty thing to do.
Mhm.
But as soon as we started hearing that from our first customer, that the actual way these teams were working together has improved dramatically, their culture has improved, we felt like we're playing the right game.
Okay. So what were the emotions? Can you name the emotions that you were feeling as that experience was unfolding?
I cried. I was elated. I also, when you hit each milestone in the game you're playing, the next 10 levels unlock. So once I hit that milestone and felt that, I also had this almost overwhelming feeling of opportunity and dread at the same time. Where it's like, oh, this is really working. Now we have to scale up. Now I have to raise money. Now I have to hire a sales team. Now I need more engineers. Now I need someone to implement the clients and talk to them every day. And it was both incredible excitement and not fear of the opportunity, but almost this like, oh, this is really real feeling set in.
Mhm. Mhm. And the emotions that you felt, do you think that is what drove your persistence to get to that next level or future levels?
Absolutely. I think almost all founders are incredibly emotionally driven, and everyone has different emotions that they feel and different things that they want to win. For me, I feel like I'm on this revenge arc against all the nights and weekends I lost at my last company and all of the pain I felt there. And so it feels really good to now see other people also have this aha moment and feel that same gratification. And that's what drives me every day. Like if it weren't for our customers saying, wow, we finally see this problem solved in a way it's never been solved before, I don't think I'd get as excited waking up every day solving it.
Okay. So you're back to building this team. You're back to building the organization again, hiring salespeople, training them. How are you keeping yourself out of the way? How are you not becoming the bottleneck of information and importance within the organization?
One, I'm really fortunate to have co-founders that have also done this before. Like they've built companies, they've been through ups and downs, and that means I can instill quite a bit of autonomy in them. I can set really high level goals, really high level objectives, but know that on a day to day basis, they're executing and getting it done in a way that helps our
Mhm.
company grow in the ways that we want it to.
Mhm.
I think every founder starts off and every company starts off in like the founder led sales kind of motion where the founder is inextricably linked to the customers because customers are buying the product as much as they're buying into that company's vision. So I'd say there are some areas where I'm still intentionally the bottleneck. Like if a customer wants to learn about our vision and our product roadmap, it should be me delivering that to the client in a certain way. But on a day-to-day basis, I really try to get out of the way from my team. And from a more tactical standpoint, that meant hiring people with experience. My ed tech company, we went in a different approach where we hired a large volume of people where we were their first time job, and that created quite a bit of what people call like management debt, where all of a sudden you realize like 10 people have just graduated college. You have to proofread all their emails. You have to teach them how to use Google Calendar. You have to teach them how to run a meeting. And there are all these things that are so innate to you because you've done them before that you don't realize you have to teach and instill to people. So when I started this company, I decided I wanted to have a small, nimble team of people with a really good, vast amount of experience so that they could focus more on solving the problems and doing their job. And I could focus less on making sure they were showing up to work and doing the right thing.
Okay. So when you take a look at the product and the organization you're building, what makes them unique and that will take them further within new organizations or penetrate industries better and faster?
I would say the biggest thing is that everyone on my team also lived this problem. And that is super unique to the EdTech company. Like the EdTech company, we weren't really eating our own dog food, right? We weren't using our own product. We all had lived the experiences at some point in our life that we were solving, but we weren't living them day to day. Here, our whole team is filled with people that lived this problem, and felt like if they could solve this problem, it would be a major accomplishment for themselves personally and a major industry accomplishment, and could build a big business, and we could all make a lot of money from it. And so it's really important to me here that we're hiring people that have lived the problem and felt the pain so that they have out of the box a high degree of customer empathy, because you can't teach customer empathy, right? You can't just like teach someone to feel the pain of another customer. They have to have either lived it and felt it, or it takes years of working with customers to build up that sort of gut. So I was fortunate in finding people who felt the pain and therefore had the same empathy as the people we're talking to and felt as passionate about solving it as I did.
Okay, so now we're getting further on the journey of implementing. You got the organization, people with experience who know the pain. So they know the experience and the elation of getting somebody out of the pain, if you will, from a business standpoint. In past conversation that you and I had, you mentioned that client service, the customer experience, is so important to you. And that's the focal point, I'm going to assume, of how you're designing the experience and getting the implementation performed. Tell us how you start the beginnings of designing a customer experience that you feel proud of.
So the first thing we have to understand is what we consider to be a launch milestone, right? So like, what does it mean to be launched with Iris and successful with Iris? And for us, that's completing your first project, RFP, proposal, security questionnaire, et cetera. From there, we can then craft a customer journey inclusive of onboarding sessions, training sessions, technology implementations and integration. And one thing that we measure is time to launch. And we're really proud that clients can go from never having logged into Iris to having their first project completed in a single 1 hour onboarding session. And that means that they can come in feeling like, I don't really know what I'm going to get out of this, and leave that first call having that light bulb moment, and we can control that emotion and control that sort of curve because we're with our customers. And for most of our customers, we are the first AI tool that they're implementing at their company. And so we are the turning point for them in their AI journey, and saying like, this isn't just a fad, something that helps me, write holiday cards for my family. This is really, really significant technology that's changing the way I do work. Now, there's another part in customer journey mapping that I don't think a lot of founders do enough of, which is mapping the customer's emotional journey. And so one of the things that we do is map out how we think the customer is feeling along each step in using Iris. And one thing that we always keep in mind is customers are using our platform in really high stress situations. Right? It's an often scenario that our customer got forwarded an RFP Friday at 5 p.m., subject line from their boss, I need this back by Monday morning. And all of a sudden, this dread sets in. And so for us, we have to think about how we can be a counterweight to that. So one of the things that I talked to my team about, and this is part of our company values, is the enthusiasm that we feel internally projects onto our customers and is really critical in having them feel motivated to solving this problem in a new way. And so we think a lot about those emotional milestones in the customer journey and how we can be a positive force in that, but how we also have to be like sometimes that shoulder for them to lean on, that place for them to vent to, where they're not going to vent to their coworker about this work they just got assigned, but they will vent to us. And we'll get on that call with them at Friday at 5 p.m. and just stay on for a few hours until they've actually achieved what they're looking to achieve. And that's really important to me too in building good customer relationships.
Okay, so in the way we at Guidewise look at what you just described, is you're helping them build their inner game. You are actually charting out an emotional journey with specific intentional steps that you're going to perform to help them build that emotional experience you want them to have. Obviously, the logic, the belief system that you give them when the system works, the technology is great. How do you think that takes them and your company into the next step? And that is, we are creating meaningful work for you. This is meaningful because it's going to change your life. How do you plot that?
It's something we think a lot about because for us, we want Iris to be the conduit to our customers getting promotions, getting their next job, getting their raise. And
Making them look good.
Exactly. And so some of that is really functional in our product. Like these users have never been able to report to their boss who on their team actually helped get this work done and how long it took. We create that dashboard so they can go to their boss and say like, hey, look, 15 people on my team helped win all these deals this quarter because they contributed to these RFPs. And that like helps them show their boss that this work doesn't just happen automatically. It happens with a lot of people and a lot of attention. The next thing we do is focus on what happens when you reclaim all of this time. So if 80% of your time was previously spent doing this work, and now that gets reduced to 10 to 20% of that time, what's the high value work we can do instead? And so what we get our customers really excited about is today, it's a really reactive process. The request comes in, everyone drops what they're doing, they try to get it done as quickly as possible. And as a result, our end users are only impacting a few deals every quarter. They can only work on the highest urgent and highest dollar deal cycles. But if we can make that process and flip it on its head and make it not so laborious, now you get to work with your sales team on every customer interaction, on every deal cycle. You can spend more time with your customer success team on what the expectations of the clients are and how to implement them successfully. You can spend more time training your sales team on the right way to position your product. So we get them excited about solving this rock in their day-to-day, this big iceberg that just consumes their brain space, their emotions, and their time. And that the externality of that is getting to shift the whole way they think about doing their job.
Yeah. This is tremendous. My compliments to you. It's very unique that somebody can articulate this as well as you are. But in going through the whole implementation process, you're now getting them to the point where you're thinking and getting them to think beyond today. What are you going to do with this free time that's going to create more high value from you and actually help you advance your career? That's a real personal benefit that goes to that individual. Do you have an industry in particular that you're looking to penetrate or you're focusing on, or is it industry agnostic, the product offering that you have?
So today we focus entirely on the corporate world of RFPs. And if you just break it into two big categories, there's like government RFPs, and that's been around for more than 10 years. For decades, government has used RFPs to transact business. What's new in the past few years is 5 million non-government entities starting to transact trillions of dollars a year through RFPs. So when you talk to companies in transportation management, in recruiting, in marketing and advertising, in management consultant, even law firms, they now are having to complete RFPs in a way that 5 years ago they never did. Now, within that corporate world, most of our customers are software companies, and they're companies that are selling complex solutions, multiple product lines, really technical sales cycles that require quite a bit of institutional knowledge to articulate the value of your solution to a prospect. And we found that they're the ones that are most excited about adopting an AI solution and see the return on investment the fastest in using Iris.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what kind of market penetration, size, growth? I'm not looking for dollars or anything like that, but where's the penetration cycle in your business right now?
So we started selling our product about 6 months ago. And since then, we've added about 10 net new paying customers every month.
Wow.
And that has been almost entirely through outreach, meeting customers, cold calling, all the kinds of traditional knocking on doors, sales-driven motions. We now are starting to scale up our go-to-market efforts. attend more events, do more marketing, hire a bigger sales team. And we think that that's going to just blitz scale up our customer adoption. The other big component is we're coming into this year now with really strong results and really strong customer advocates. So our customers are starting to refer us to their peers at other companies and talk about us online and bring a lot of visibility to, hey, we've been using Iris for a full quarter. We're seeing the impact on our sales pipeline. Never seen anything like this before, and you should try it out too.
Good. So you've been working with AI for a while. That's obvious. You're not a newcomer to it. You know the ins and the outs, the positives, things like that. How's that change your perspective on human creativity and problem solving?
I think human creativity is paramount above all computers. And as someone who uses AI for lots of facets of my life, I always tell people that it is not going to eliminate the creativity and the spark that humans have. I talk to a lot of people and see this with myself. Because of the type of work AI is offsetting, it's opening up quite a bit of brain space to be more creative. So for our customers in a pre-AI world, they were often recycling previously used content, but they knew if they had the time, then they could craft really specific narratives for every prospect they were talking to. AI enables them to scale up that type of process where they now can talk to each prospect in a different way that's purpose built for them, deliver the narrative that's really hyper specific and personalized for them. And the best users of AI who wield the tools in the best way are actually finding that it dramatically increases the amount of time they spend on creative work and enables them to be far more creative. And I'm a really firm believer that as technology boosts up the just kind of bottom line of knowledge and information, it's then going to raise the ceiling on human creativity, but it's never going to replace the creative spirit that humans have.
Okay. So when you now are getting into more and more clients, the dialogue, the experience is evolving. No longer an infant. Now you're getting into the teen years, the young adulthood, so to speak, in the experience of the product. How do you determine what features to put into the product and what features to hold back from the product?
It's a great question. Something that is never easy and straightforward. I'd say there are two kind of guiding principles we use. One is incredibly customer led. So every time we talk to a prospect, every time we talk to a customer, we literally catalog the things that they brought up. The other is we have a really high degree of conviction on high level functionality and roadmap items that we believe customers don't even necessarily know they need yet. But because of the pains we've heard in their day-to-day process, we can solve for in a really unique and special way. So we try to balance what we need to build to keep our customers happy. Sometimes it's new buttons, it's new features, it's new integrations. Other times it's entirely new parts of their workflow and entirely new feature sets that they'll look at and say, that solves a problem I had in a way I never even thought we could solve it.
Okay. And you had mentioned there's one bottleneck or one area that you feel you need to fulfill and maintain, and that is the vision, values of the company, et cetera. How do you bring people together under what values? What are the core values of Iris?
So the first value is customer obsession. We exist because they exist. And I feel really strongly about that. There are lots of companies out there that don't obsess over their customers. And I think there's like glorified social clubs. I don't think my investors would like it very much if we were just hanging out, building things we thought that were cool, right? Like we have to be customer obsessed and customer led. The second is think like an owner. And I really want everyone at our company to think like an owner of a business. And that means prioritizing ruthlessly and starting with the goal and the end goal in mind and working backwards. The third is own your numbers. I think it's really, really important for people to grasp that you can't improve what you can't measure. And whether it's in engineering or sales or support or even myself as a CEO, if I don't have some goal and metric in mind, I can't actually show that I'm improving, and I can't feel motivated that I'm getting better at something.
Mhm.
Um, and then the fourth is don't be afraid to pop the champagne. I think it's really, really important that we celebrate all wins. And we have quite a few automated notifications that come across our Slack channel every time a feature is shipped, every time a meeting is booked, every time a deal is won. And what I'm really proud of with our culture is everyone celebrates everyone's wins across the team and across the organization. There are no silos. There's no, people working in their own vacuum. Everyone gets to be a part of all of our wins and celebrations.
Okay. And what do you see looking down the road at AI? What particular functionality of AI are you keeping an eye out? What do you see coming in over that next bend, if you will, in the road?
For our company and our use case, I think that the biggest advances we're going to see are on smarter underlying technology, getting better at doing thinking for companies. So maybe beyond just writing content, it can actually evaluate that content and give you some tips on how to make it better. And there's just an ability to go deeper on what some people are calling reasoning with AI models and reasoning with the AI technology. From a world standpoint, I'm most excited about the impact AI is going to have in biotech and with health. I think there's a really unique opportunity with AI to solve some massive global health challenges in a way that couldn't have been solved beforehand because of lack of compute, lack of data availability, and just lack of people trying to solve those problems.
Okay. So here you are today. You've built the idea. You got it implemented. You now have your viable product, we'll say. You're now after more and more clients. You've explained how you basically unpack, if you will, the client experience. What's the future look like for you, Ben, in the organization?
I want to run Iris until I die. I think that because this is a brand new technology in a massively and rapidly growing market, that Iris is a product that can proliferate just about every company across the world. And I think I get excited enough about the impact of our product that I could be running this business for the rest of my life. I think, if I were to fast forward 10 years from now, we'll be in 100,000 companies. We'll have hundreds and thousands of employees. I'll be living with my wife and hopefully have some kids and a happy family, and still bringing this technology to businesses and companies in a way that they never dreamed of it helping solve their challenges.
Okay. So I would say to you, I've met and talked with hundreds and thousands in my career of entrepreneurs. I think you have something very unique. I'm very interested to watch the trajectory of you and your business. I think you got an outstanding opportunity ahead of you. And I think where you can take your product is going to be very interesting to watch. So I'd love to stay in contact in that way.
Absolutely.
What is the best way to contact you if somebody wants to talk to you personally?
Reach out to me on LinkedIn or feel free to email me. It's ben@heyiris.ai.
Okay. Very good, Ben. Thank you very much for your time and a fascinating conversation on how you implement it from idea to actual physical product and revenue generations. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here.
Hi, Ted Wolf here. I want to thank you for joining us for this Implementors video. The Implementors podcast is presented by Guidewise, where we, along with our vetted member community, recognize that ideas are easy, but implementation is hard. To learn more about getting things done with Guidewise, please visit us at guidewise.io. And to conquer your implementation struggles, please like and share this video and subscribe to our channel. Happy implementing.